so many people are dealing with deeper challenges like anxiety and depression. The World Health Organization found that rates jumped 25% during COVID, and they have stayed high.
Yeah, it's a really significant jump, that 25%. I'm curious, Maria, in your expertise, why do you think those numbers are so widespread today, and that, what really influenced that increase in your opinion?
So in my opinion, I think about, so rates of anxiety and depression remain high for many reasons. So if we think about like today and just even going back a little bit, right? Ongoing uncertainty in the world, social isolation, economic pressures. If we think about that, and then just the fast pace of modern life, right? That in itself is going to make someone anxious. It's going to, or at least experience symptoms of anxiety, symptoms of depression. Like you're trying to measure up to something, right? When there's also uncertainty, there's a lack of foundation there, right? So I look at it in that sense, why so there's so many, it just remains high. And again, I'm gonna emphasize the ongoing uncertainty and the social in terms of what's going on and the economic pressures that we're facing right now. So yeah.
Yeah.
And what habits or coping tools can make a difference in the long term?
Yeah. So consistent sleep, right? A good sleep routine, right? Uh, really being effective or being if not effective or other being efficient with your time. So being efficient with your time means that you have to be mindful of how you're using your time and making sure that it's being used in a way that it's aiding, it's supporting self-care. So consistent sleep routine, movement, exercising, right? Nutrition. When I think about nutrition, I think about not just, yes, the way we eat, but the vitamins we're getting, right? We're about to go into, it's going to start getting cooler. I mean, it's hitting us already over here, right? And, right, when I wake up, it's dark. Right, 7 o'clock, it's dark already, right? You got to get your vitamin, your nutrients. I am no nutrition, but I know one thing: when I don't get my vitamin D and I don't get my B complex, I start to feel it in my body. So nutrition and movement are so important to aid in that. And then I think, and then consistent sleep, right? Like if getting into a bedtime routine, right? Making sure that you're getting a certain amount of hours to sleep, right? And then practicing mindfulness and grounding techniques are so important because when you think about mindfulness, when you think about grounding techniques, it helps to calm the nervous system. So if you don't have that, then what happens is that when you have stress, you don't have the bandwidth and you don't have the capacity to deal with it when it comes.
Hmm. I chuckled when you mentioned, good night's rest because I have a just turned 1 year old and I would covet one night, one night of consistent rest.
Oh, bless your heart. I've been there. My children are 8 and 10, so
Mhm.
it's been a while, but whoo, I
I just
remember.
need some hope that we make it through. That's all I need.
Yes, you will. But yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Uh-huh. So, in the same vein of, anxiety, I'm just curious in your profession, how do you tell between, clients that are anxious just due to everyday stressors versus something that needs maybe more medical intervention or more intense professional help?
Well, that's a really good question. So because it's a really good question, and I think about like my focus. So my niche is trauma. So most often I'm looking through that lens. Like almost all the time I'm looking through that lens. I'm kind of filtering out. So when a client comes to me and they're telling me they're feeling anxious or they're feeling depressed, I'm always doing what we call like a biopsychosocial assessment. I want to get to know all about you, what's going on in your life, right? Not just mentally, but all those things that contribute to that, which are like the things like nutrition, right? What are your sleep habits? Even like you mentioned, right? Like you have a 1 year old, right? So automatically it's like, okay, so it's not that you don't want to have a good bedtime routine, right? Some things are not in your control, right? But I'm also looking to see like, okay, what do your support systems look like, right? So because I look at things through a trauma lens, I am looking to see the things that people, how they identify, what they believe about themselves, how long have they been coping in this way? Because most often with people who have trauma, they don't have necessarily the best coping skills. They have what we call like maladaptive ways of coping that's worked for them for a good amount of time, but often when they come to me, it's come to the point where it's not working for them any longer. So that helps me to determine, okay, which way am I going? Am I going deeper in terms of, because this person has a significant trauma history, we have to go and we got to dig to the root to understand and bring awareness to why they engage in the certain behaviors, or maybe they don't have, any trauma history or complicated trauma history that allows us just to focus on basic coping skills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great.
And you talked about getting more sleep and nutrition and mindfulness. What about the people who says, I don't have time for that? Do you get that a lot?
I don't get that a lot, but I've heard it.
Mhm.
And my response is if you don't have time to sleep, then you really don't have time to live, because sleeping is a part of living. If if you're sleeping, right, and I mean like that REM sleep, like that good sleep, right, then right, you should be restoring yourself. Your body needs to restore. You are rejuvenating, you're resetting. But if you're not getting sleep, and you're saying you don't have time for that, then you're really not living, because that means that communicates to me that you're really not present, you're not being mindful, you're not aware. So you're kind of just going with it. And, whatever it is you're going with, whether that's working all the time, doing, but are you really present? Are you really living? So that's what comes up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely hits, not being aware, not being present. I mean, that puts it into perspective, certainly.
Mhm. And it's like, people want to get healthy. 'Cause I work in the healthcare field, and it's more reactive than proactive care. So
Mhm.
people, they tend to maybe work themselves literally to the grave, or to the hospital, and they don't take the time to assess their mind, their body, their different aspects of their life. And when people come to you, are they kind of at that point where, okay, I have to make a change?
Yes, yes. Most of the time when people come to me, they come to the point where what they've been doing is no longer working. So even though it may have always been what we call again like maladaptive ways of coping, it worked. It worked to a certain extent, right? But we're even if you're young, you're still aging, right? So the things that you may have been able to do before, it doesn't feel the same, it doesn't look the same. So often people get to that point where they don't know what else to do. Like, okay, this used to work for me and it was great, right? But it's no longer working. What do I do with that? So absolutely, absolutely.